Join me every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for my weekly show, The Home Team, heard right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network and Facebook Live, The Home Team with Paul Porter, talking Lightning, Bucks, Rays, USF, and a whole lot more. Your calls and prize giveaways. Join us this Saturday and every Saturday morning for The Home Team, 9 to 11 on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
It's now time for Connecting Caregivers with author, speaker, caregiver advocate, and talk show host Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for caregivers.
Caregivers around the world today, it's time to lift you up. It's time to celebrate. Good afternoon and welcome to Connecting Caregivers with me, Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers with love, laughter, and lessons learned. On the show where we just want you to find help and hope, because we know your caregiving journey is not easy, and we know that through not being alone and through getting education, it can make a really big difference. So we have Mr. Ed on the board today. How you doing, Ed?
Greeting. Where's your sidekick, not psychic?
She's not feeling so good today, so sorry, Lynn.
I thought, she's got hours like a politician, you know?
She does.
I think she's running for office somewhere.
Maybe. I don't know. She hasn't said anything to me. And with me today, I have my friend, Sue Archer Reynolds. Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm glad you're here. And we're going to talk on the second half of the show.
Okay.
First thing I want to do is give a shout out to our newest listeners. We have Angela in New Jersey. We have Dee Dee in Tampa. And we have Shannon in St. Pete. And like I always say, there's plenty of room around the Connecting Caregivers table for more listeners, whether you listen when we're live on AM, FM, or on YouTube or Facebook or my website or wherever. That's a really good thing about the technology today, because before you would have one show, the show would be done. You'd never hear it again. My grandchildren say, yeah, Grandma will be hearing you for 100 years. Oh, my goodness. So when I was driving to the station today, I saw this antique car, a Mercury. A white Mercury, and it was the same car that my boyfriend had when we were in high school. And I just wanted to get next to them at the light, and I kept missing. And finally, I was next to them, and then I beeped the horn, and a lady opened her window. And I said, "Oh, my boyfriend," and she had that little wing window, those little, and she had her cigarette hanging out the window. But she's like, "Yeah, but we got the bench seat." But it was just like a delightful thing for a moment, for me to have that memory from when I was younger, and then to just chat with them for a second at the traffic light.
You're lucky you could connect there.
Yeah.
And most people have those dark windows. You can't
she
even
had a
see
dark window too. I beat because I just terribly assumed that a man was driving the car, because that's usually who it is, men that drive antique cars. No, it looked like her and her sister.
Be careful. That could have turned into road rage.
I don't know. But yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. So we have another guest on the show today, Mary Jo Belmont. She'll be calling in, I'm sure, in a minute or two. She's from Olympia, Washington. And I cannot say enough about Mary Jo. Mary Jo has been in my support group, my Zoom support group, probably for about 5 years. She took care of her husband, Jack, who had Alzheimer's, and Jack passed away on September 18, 2021. Unfortunately, I never got to meet him personally, only through Zoom once or twice when she brought him to the group. But he was an absolutely fabulous man. But Mary Jo is off the wall fabulous. If you had a caregiver scale on 1 to 10, with 10 being the best caregiver, Mary Jo would get a 20. She got the most education, found the most resources, and always tried the next step and always learned. And she has a big faith too. And I think that's a really important part of it. So she's written a book, Our Dementia Journey and Beyond. Hey, Mary Jo, where are you? I'm waiting for her to call in. But I know it'll be wonderful talking to her. Let me just text her. Is that it, Ed? Because she's right on the second. I said 110. Yes, she is. Hello, my friend.
Hello.
How are you today? How is it in Olympia, Washington today?
Oh, cloudy, but not raining, so that's good.
That's really good. So I don't know if you heard the few things I said before you called in, But the one thing I said is for a caregiver, with 10 being the best caregiver on a scale from 1 to 10, Mary Jo, you're a 20.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you found education, you tried new things, you were open, you had a big faith, you found support groups, you found out that you weren't alone. And that is huge, and it changes the entire journey. So Mary Jo was part of my support group and still is part of my support group. And she wrote a new book, Our Dementia Journey and Beyond, which I absolutely love. And a lot of it was written from her journals, just like my book, Good Night and God Bless. In fact, I went to visit Mary Jo one time at her home, and when she opened her closet, I think she has more journals than I do. And that's an awful lot of journals, right?
Yeah, I've written a lot about my children, grandchildren, and experiences in life. So hopefully there'll be another book.
Well, I'll tell you, it means a lot because recently I've been doing some remodeling in my house and had to empty out closets and this and that. And the other day I found a journal from my honeymoon.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness. And it's written on airport stationery, when I guess they used to give you airport stationery, and hotel stationery. And we were in Paris at one point, and I was like, oh, my goodness, I can't wait till we go up the Eiffel Tower. And then we went there. My husband said the line was too long. He wasn't going to wait for the line. And in my journal, I'm like, that's okay because I'm in love. You know, I was 23 because today I'd be like, you can go have a beverage. I'm going online. But, you know, it's and funny, I found a journal from when I was in 5th grade. And I said to one of the girls, we either all play together or we don't play at all. So I think some things never change. So since your book was written from your journals, how has journaling helped you, Mary Jo?
Well, I guess like you've mentioned, I had all the journals in my closet. It's always been a big part of my life. And I've always used it to like calm my anxiety and fears. And sometimes I feel like I'm writing a letter to God. And instead of praying or out loud to myself or recording it on paper, I write it down. So some people burn their journals or throw their journals away once they've helped them. But I thought that I would keep my journaling with the thought that it might help someone if I use the entries to write a book. And I gained a lot of strength from reading about other caregivers' challenges and how they handle them. And I guess I gained a lot of strength from rereading and writing my book.
And there's something about the physicality of writing.
Yes, yes.
Actually,
and then also
writing.
It helped when I went to the doctors to have a timeline for Jack's journey, too. If they, asked me something, I could look back in my journal and see. And then, also in the grief of both when the grief that I had when Jack was losing different things, ability to do things, and afterwards after his death. So,
because a lot of people don't realize on their caregiving experience that their loved one is still alive, but they're already grieving.
Right. There's so many ambiguous losses that you feel.
But it's such a gift, too, to have, because I know a lot of caregivers that I know that journal, they'll go back and look at their journal from like a year ago or 6 months ago, and they're like, wow, it's much better than it was then. Oh, yeah. I remember, oh my God, I got past that.
Yeah. Or I learned how to do something different.
Yeah.
And it made your life easier.
Yeah.
So.
And now you get to share that. So why did you include the beyond part as part of your book?
Well, that sort of goes along with the grief. I think that it's important to a caregiver to seek out a support group for grief as it is to seek out a caregiver support group while they're caring for their loved one.
Yeah.
Because you need that support. And I found one that was nationwide. You know about it. It was Grief Share.
Yep.
And I just Googled griefshare.com and put in my zip code, and I found a group that was close to me. In fact, it was sort of like a real blessing because I knew about half the class.
Wow.
That was in this group. And one of the people in the group even lost her spouse from Lewy body dementia. And so it was about a 13-week long class, and I had a video and then a discussion afterward. And I filled out the workbook that went along with it. And then after the class was over, about a few months later, I decided I would attend a different location, but the same class. And as I was filling out the workbook, I compared it to the first one, and I was really encouraged that I had gained and I had improved along the way. And then I attended a local senior center support group that wasn't Christian-based, but I found out a lot of good information from that also. And then I continued going to a psychologist because Jack and I both were seeing one, which gave me an hour of an hour break when we were both getting help at the same time, and our insurance paid for those visits. So if people look into their insurance, psychologists can be paid for, and that's would be a great help to them and their loved one, plus a break for them.
Well, I joined the Grief Share, the same program that you were in after my husband passed away, and it was just absolutely fabulous. I think all support groups, with whatever your issues are wonderful. I have a friend right now through their church that is going to a divorce support group. So there's support out there, and no matter what people are going through, when you find out that you're not alone and that someone else is having the same feelings as you and the same questions as you, it changes everything.
Oh, it does. It really does. And there's support if your loved one was on hospice. That hospice will provide a year of grief support, 1 hour a month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is. But you have to. Sometimes they say they don't have anyone to do it, but if you insist, they have to find someone. And they did find she wasn't the bereavement person, but they had the chaplain meet with me, and she wound up writing the foreword to my book.
See,
and she was a great help to me, meeting that hour a month with me and praying with me and really giving me the support I needed.
I bought a copy of your book, and then you sent me an autographed copy, and so the copy that I bought, my guest Sue Archer Reynolds, that's on the show today, she goes to a monthly support group, and she's going to bring your book there. So,
wonderful!
I think that would be absolutely wonderful.
After I read it. I'm going to read it before I share it.
Yeah, and I do have 2 Alzheimer's support groups here in Washington that I contacted, and the leader is she read it first, and then she's letting her group take turns reading it. And then if they have any questions or they want to learn more, well, then she's going to have me come speak to their group. So,
that's fabulous.
Yeah.
And that gives you a new sense of purpose too, Mary Jo.
Yes, it does. It helps me find the new me,
right?
That they keep talking about in the support groups, and that's real important to find that. And,
well, if you
crying is,
go ahead.
Crying is good. So if I found out from one of the support groups, grief groups, that crying has different tears in it than like chopping onions or something like that.
Right, or happy tears or sad tears.
There's a chemical in there that actually helps your body heal in those tears. Yeah. So I learned a lot from reading and meeting with groups.
What were you going to say, Sue?
I was going to say, if she's ever interested in a road trip out here, we've got plenty of places she can come speak.
Yeah. We'll have to get her back in Florida.
That's right.
All right. So let's talk a little bit more about your book. So can you give our listeners an example and how you lived in Jack's world? Because that's the most important part that I tell people all the time. You have to live in their world and go into their world because they can't come into yours.
Mm-hmm. Well, a good example would be that Jack walked into a picture frame store while I was in the post office one day, and he bought picture frames. And when I saw him, I asked him, well, what was he going to put in the picture frames? And he thought he went into an art store. So he told me he didn't have to put any pictures in.
Because there's a picture in there already.
Beautiful pictures in there. One was of a mountain. One was a boy looking back at a across the water at the city that looked like his grandson. And the last one was a bridge where he had completed his scuba diving course lessons years ago. So we placed those pictures on the wall in our condo, and we both enjoyed looking at them. And then when friends came over, they lived in his world too, because they just went right along with it as he told them all about the pictures and that he had found in this art store and how unbelievably low priced they were.
But you know what the thing
they
is?
had a 12 by 14 and different, on the bottom like you would. It was really a picture frame. But,
Well, you know what the thing is, Mary Jo? So you were in his world and you were kind, because many times caregivers are so stressed and frustrated that they'd be like, "What the heck are you doing? We don't need those. Don't you see there's something else in there?" And it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, my daughters are like, "Mom, aren't you a little embarrassed to have picture frames with no pictures in them on the walls?" I'm like, "No, there are pictures in those frames." And he believes that, that's what they are. So, there's no reason why we can't have them up there.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, right.
So since your faith in Jesus was mentioned a lot throughout your book, what is an example of one of the times you felt it was God instead of a coincidence?
Well,
Because I don't think there's any coincidence. I think it's just God winking at me.
Right, and there was many, many times. But one of the examples was when we flew to Hawaii to list our vacation home for sale, and we had all our belongings to pack up and ship to Washington. Well, I had called the scheduled packers to see if they could pack it, and they were booked out for 3 months.
Oh.
So I decided to go to their office as soon as I arrived in Hawaii to schedule a time so I could hopefully work out having the belongings stored somewhere until they could come pack them. And when we walked in the office, the lady was hanging up the phone, and she said that a person had just called to cancel the packing in her home for the next day. And she said if we wanted her to, the packers could come that next day and she could schedule them.
Wow.
And I was just overjoyed. I said, yes, this has to be God taking care of us. So the packers came. And then when they were packing, the real estate lady came and for us to sign the papers to sell. And we had gone over this, and Jack had said he was going to sign them. But when she came and went over the papers, he said he was not going to sign the papers. He said we could give her a key and that she could try to sell the house. And then after she sold the house, got the people to sell the house, then he'd sign the papers. And she told him it didn't work that way, and that her company said that she had to have him sign the paper before she could try to sell the house. Well, she was really kind, and she was a Christian lady, and she didn't push him or anything. She said, well, you can take the papers home with you or fax them back or what, but this is what has to happen. And she said, would you mind if I had prayer with you before I left? And he said, no. Well, it was a powerful prayer.
Wow.
And when Jack opened his eyes, he said he would sign the paper.
Wow.
So once again, God knew just how to handle that situation.
All right, so
And,
tell me, I want to hear about your God story with the wedding ring, because that's my favorite.
Oh, that's
my favorite.
Okay. Well, Jack had lost his wedding ring, and it was almost just like 3 months before our wedding anniversary. And so he really wanted a different ring. And, he had bought me a ring. So I told him, I'll just buy you a new wedding ring. And so we did. And that was a whole nother story, buying the wedding ring. But anyway, he got the new ring, and we couldn't find the ring. We looked all over for that ring, where he had been putting insulation in a watershed, where we had our water.
Yeah, and you have a big property. It could have been anywhere.
Yeah, it could have been anywhere, but we looked and looked. Anyway, the day of his memorial service, I had a knock on the door. So this was about 2 or 3 months later. And the guy was servicing the well across the road in the watershed where we had looked and really looked, because that's where he'd been working. And he said he had found a ring. He said he opened the watershed door, and it was laying right there on the floor in front of him.
I could cry.
And he said, I wanted to bring it over because I figured it was probably someone, from your house. And I'm like, it's my husband's wedding ring. And today is his memorial service. And it was like God had sent that ring to me to tell me everything's okay. Jack's in heaven. And,
you're not lost.
You can make it through this day.
Yeah.
And so I put the wedding ring on my finger and put my other rings on top of it so it wouldn't slip off. And I wore it to his memorial service. And it just gave me the strength I needed. And I wasn't going to say anything at the service because,
how could you not?
Hard.
Yeah.
And so then I was just sitting there, and when I get this strong feeling, that God wants me to do something, I have to do it. So I got up, and I wasn't on the program or anything. And I said, well, excuse me, but I wasn't going to talk, but now I have to because I got to tell the story.
Wow.
And so everyone did say it was their favorite story.
All right. Well, our time is almost up. So let's just talk about your toolbox for caregivers quick.
Oh, quick. Okay. Well, the most important one is the one that Linda said, make sure you don't leave it out, was that you need to get in a support group and find out about other support information. And you can find that right on www.lindaburhans.com because she lists everything, not only her things, but other things in the community and other things that you can reach by Zoom, like her conferences and things like that. So very, very important to go on there and look at that. And then very important to let people know what dementia really is. Because people don't know. They'll say, my loved one has dementia, but they don't have Alzheimer's. So they don't know that dementia is the umbrella term. And that's just really important for people to
get the proper diagnosis. Yeah.
Yes. And anyway, and then I guess the most valuable one that people have told me that they've gotten from my book is knowing that people with dementia miss the fourth word of a sentence.
Yep.
And whenever Jack came in the kitchen one time and he said he wanted to help, and I said, get out the plate. And Jack heard, get out the. Well, he got out bowls, and he looked at me and he said, this is not right. And I said, no, I wanted plates. Well, Jack heard, no, I wanted.
Right.
Well, he looked at me and he said, honey, I have no idea what you want me to do. And I realized that the important word was the fourth word each time. So I said, plates, please. And he smiled and got out the plates. And he asked me if I needed the bowls. And I said, yes, for salad. And he was happy. And he looked back and said, okay, for salad.
It's all good. So, Mary Jo, where can our listeners find your book?
They can find it on Amazon, and it's in paperback, hardback, and it's on Kindle. And if they go on Amazon website there and go under the Kindle version of it, there's a button you can click, and you can read the first 24 or so pages of it free and kind of get a flavor of what it, what it is. So, and then it's on Ingram also for libraries and other bookstores like Barnes and Noble. So
fabulous. Thank you so much for being with me today, my friend.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me.
It's been great. I love you, and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. And now it's time to hear from our wonderful partners, because you know the deal. If you don't hear from them, you don't hear from me. So stay tuned to Connecting Caregivers Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
Sean W. Scott has been practicing elder law and qualifying clients for Medicaid for over 30 years. While his practice is in all areas of estate planning, such as durable power of attorney, healthcare surrogates, and wills, he also prides himself on having a 100% accuracy rate on getting clients approved for Medicaid. Why Medicaid, you may ask? Do you want to pay up to $16,000 a month for a nursing home should the time come? Obviously, no one wants to have to endure this cost. So even though you may have planned well for retirement, the reality is things happen. Planning ahead is never too soon. You need to make sure your income and assets are protected so that you can take care of you and your loved ones. Florida law is very specific on how and what is protected and how to protect it. Give Sean a call. He can help. 727-539-0181. That's 727-539-0181.
My mom was getting older, but she was able to live pretty independently until recently. When her case manager told me she would be discharged from rehab in just a few days, I didn't know what to do. But I knew for sure that she couldn't go back living alone at home. So that's when I contacted Sunway's Senior Living Concierge. My Senior Living Concierge, Lisa, was there for me through the whole process and was a free service for us to compare in-home care options and how that cost would compare to assisted living. With Lisa's help, we found a great new home for Mom, and she is thriving. Take it from me, don't go through this journey alone.
Hi, I'm Ellie Baldwin, co-founder and president of Sunway's Senior Living Concierge. We're a free placement and concierge service for families to help compare senior living communities and find the best place for you or a loved one. Call us today at 727-314-6451 or find us online at sunwaysseniorliving.com.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And I just want you to understand how important a company like Sunways is. A lot of people say to me, how come I don't list different communities on my website? It's because I can't babysit them. It could be the most fabulous community, and then new management comes in, or all new staff, and then I wouldn't want my loved one to go there. Companies like Sunways, that's what they do. They're there all the time. They see what's going on. They know what's going on. So please think about that. If you use their services, it doesn't cost you anything, and they will take you by the hand. And I think that's the most important thing, especially in a big decision like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sue, and you could probably go through that too. So Sue and I met probably 5 or 6 years. I don't even know how long anymore.
No, 11 years ago.
11.
When I moved to Tampa area, you were one of the first people I connected with.
It's crazy.
I called you, yeah.
How time flies. So you took care of your mom.
Well, both my mom and my dad.
And you are taking care of your dad.
Yeah, but I was taking care of both of them at the time Mom had Alzheimer's.
And you're a licensed real estate agent?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a broker with my own company.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that journey. First with your mom.
I'll tell you, we started to realize, actually with my mom and my dad, we came out to visit and my mom and dad had a leak behind their kitchen sink.
Okay.
And they could not figure out how to handle it. My dad would sit in the garage and just in case somebody was going to come to work on it. You know, and the fans were going and everything else. And I said, you don't have to deal with this. You have insurance. You can go and stay in a hotel. They didn't realize. And here were two people that were just really successful in terms of
vibrant.
Yeah. Mom was a stay-at-home mom with 6 kids, and then she went to work and still handling it. And dad was a traveling salesman. So she was doing it all on her own. They had so many balls in the air, and here they could not handle the simple. So that kind of woke me up front. And then Mom was forgetting more and more. So my husband said, we need to move out there. I'm the 4th of 6 kids. So it's like, well, why me? I've got a sister who's not working and another one that's retired. And
because you're the designated daughter.
I guess. But anyway, so I picked up in being in real estate out there. I came here and I knew no one. And so I needed to not only create the resources for real estate, but also the resources in the senior community as to what you needed in terms of help. It's a parallel universe in the senior community, especially when they need help.
Yeah.
And other
but what a
people
better
don't
place
see
to
it.
be in Florida, because there are more seniors here than anywhere else. And there are a lot of resources here.
Yeah. Well, I came from California. You think, oh, California, they have all the new age health solutions. No, there's more health solutions here in Florida than there is in
because we've been doing seniors here for a long time.
Yeah.
This is where people came to retire.
Right.
and I am so blessed to be in this community because there are so many professionals in this community that want to make a difference and that do work well together. If I refer a caregiver to a resource and it doesn't work for them, that resource is going to find an answer for them or refer them to someone else that can help them. And that's a big deal, especially when you're a caregiver, because if I have to make more than one phone call or 2 phone calls, it may not happen.
But they're already so tired, and it's that whole trust issue. Who can you trust?
Right.
And you do have the predatory people out there. They see the seniors and the contractors or whatever. I'm working on one project myself. I'm both a real estate broker, but I'm also doing my own investments. And the seniors will come over and say, well, who are you using for this? Because nobody shows up when we call them,
Right.
and we don't know if they're charging us right or whatever, or they're doing the work right. So,
yeah, you got to be careful with that. So what are some of the other factors that need to be considered when you talk to a family member?
Well, I get calls from people, like I said, in my networking. I go, if they've got a situation where they're looking for help, call me. And I say that to the investor group. I said, if you've got a senior you're working with, call me. Let me try and go through some of the things so that we take the best care for these people.
And so they feel comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, because you expect all the investors to be predatory. They're going to offer 50% of their value and kick them out of their house and all that. As a realtor, the normal question when you're going to list your house is, where are you going to go next? And a lot of times they don't have the answer to that. Okay, I need the money.
I just know that this is too much for me.
Right. So I start with, what are the medical needs? And the medical needs are understanding their activities for daily living,
right?
How much they can do themselves. Why are you looking at making this change? Because nobody wants to leave. They want to age in place.
Yep.
And they want the world to change around them so that they stay as similar to their current lifestyle as possible.
And they don't want to downsize any of their stuff. But believe me, nobody wants your stuff.
My daughter told me that too. She said, Mom, when you die, I'm just going to get rid of all this stuff because I've got all my little collections.
Oh, my granddaughter was over the other day for dinner and she said, when did you use this air fryer last? I said, I used it once. She said, can I have it? I was like, take it.
Oh, she wanted it at least.
Yeah, take it.
So medical is important to understand what the problems are. It could be physical or it could be mental, which I'm more familiar with the dementia aspects with my parents. So understanding that, and it's like, okay, what assistance do you need to have that normal lifestyle, so to speak? And can you stay at home and maybe have people come in and help? So you go through all of those discussions. And then the next conversation is financial. How can you afford this? This is what it's going to cost if you bring people in. It's like $30 an hour on a budget. If you're saying you're going to live in your home and you've got somebody coming in 24 hours a day, that's like $500 a day.
Yeah.
So that's like $15,000 to $20,000 a month.
Right.
And that's a lot of money. So then you say, okay, well, can we do some kind of in between, whatever, or do I need to go into a facility? So all those conversations. But then you go back to, oh, by the way, do you have the legal structure set up? Like, who makes these decisions?
It's frightening.
First of all, I mean, I'm a big proponent on power of attorney for healthcare. If they're over the age of 18, the hospitals and doctors do not need to talk to the parents.
Exactly.
So everybody should have a power of attorney for healthcare.
My granddaughter got married. She's 22. She got married. She got a house. She has a baby. I'm like, you got to go do your stuff.
She doesn't have it yet?
She does now, yeah. Now she does. But most 22-year-olds don't.
Yeah. The side on the power of attorney for financial, though, has a lot of sticky wickets attached to it. Because if you get somebody in there and then they are essentially your clone, they can take over all your finances. And I had a friend of mine called me and said, is it true if this person's a power of attorney that you can no longer sign for your own stuff or make any decisions? I said, absolutely not. She said, well, her daughter told her that. And then she put the house in her name and had her mom pay for all the updates. And then she kicked her out and put her in a assisted living. And this was before she needed it. She definitely needs it now. But at the time, it was kind of a total abuse. But power of attorney is not monitored.
No.
So you say, well, do I need a power of attorney or do I need guardianship, which creates another whole
Right.
issue because then you got the court involved.
Yeah, we really don't want that.
No, but you have to look at the legal, and then none of those, the financial, any of that is me. It's me referring them to legal counsel, accounting.
Because they need that before they can take further steps, really. It's
That's
the smartest
right,
thing.
because a realtor should not be having someone sign a contract
That
until they're sure that they're capable of signing that
Exactly.
contract.
Exactly.
That's why your earlier caller, I was like, well, okay, she knew what they wanted. And attorneys normally can say, yes, I know they have dementia, but at this moment, they are aware of what is going on and can sign the contract. But you can't just have somebody. The problem I had with realtors up front was, oh, I can have them sign a contract and put them into a condo. And it's like, wait a minute, unless you've talked to their medical professional,
that best
the
for them?
legal, yeah, it's like that might not be the answer for them because
No.
if they're not capable of living on their own in the big house, how are they capable of living
Right.
on their own in the small house?
Right. And can they live in a 2-story house? And can they live in a, what's accessible for them?
Right. But the bigger thing is just being able, is there somebody close by? I mean, if they're going to move, there's so many people that are sitting in their place here and their family's in Ohio. And then I get the call and says, well, my mom's doing these weird things and she's taking her medication. And I said, well, how do you know she is? Because she told me so. I said, you also told me she has dementia.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's silence. It's like, is anybody checking that she's really taking her
Right.
under-medicated, over-medicated, whatever?
Or they're on the floor. You know how many times somebody will tell me I went over mom's house and there's like 6 pills on the floor.
Yeah.
They thought they took it, but they dropped one or whatever,
Then the fourth one, so it's medical, financial, legal, and then it's social, which there's one TED Talk out there that talks about the longevity of people. And they said it's not if they're taking the flu shot, non-smokers, any of that.
Right.
It's social connections.
Yeah.
And you have to feel connected. You have to know when you go into the restaurant that, who the waitress is or who your mailbox, who's delivering your mail or your neighbors or somebody. You have to have those connections. And that's the challenge I'm having right now with my dad. But
You have to find the community.
Yes.
That it can work with. The restaurant it can work with. The exercise place it can work with.
Right. They can't be at home watching TV all day and not seeing people.
How do you feel when you do that? Like crap. You might do it for one day and go, okay, I wanted to binge Netflix or whatever. But that was one day. And that's kind of like a healing day or whatever. You can't do that every single day.
Right.
How can you? We're social beings.
Yeah. And I'm always recommending be where your family is. At some point, you're better off. I mean, I moved all the way to where my mom and dad was, but most people encourage their parents, move where the kids and the grandkids are.
Yeah.
And maybe not with them, but maybe close by. It's better in the long run, I think.
Yeah, I'm so blessed. I have 4 grandchildren here and a great grandson now.
Perfect.
And, I started 6 weeks ago, Sunday dinner. I don't get to see them all the time. They're busy working and doing stuff. So now we have Sunday dinner every Sunday. Whoever comes. And they come. And it's fabulous. But I needed to do that.
Yes. For them as well as you.
Well, yeah. But you know what? I'm the one that's getting old, not them.
Yeah.
It's the thing. But I think it's so important. And I leave tomorrow morning for Maine for 6 days with my sister. 6 days with my sister and my wonderful brother-in-law and a lot of lobster.
Oh.
I need to do that. I need to go see my sisters.
Yes.
I need to go see my family and spend time with them when it's not a wedding or a funeral or whatever. Because when it's a wedding, you don't see nobody.
Right.
You dance a couple dances, but whatever. And I'm just so looking forward to it. And it's important to me because I'm going to be 71 soon. Who knows?
But you're still vital. See, and none of us realize what are we going to really be like in 10 years from now or whatever. So back to on the real estate questions, those are all things that have to be planned before you look at the house.
Yep.
But I walk in and they think, okay, I need money, so we're going to sell the house. And it's like, well, wait a minute. How much money do you need? Do you really maybe want to look at Medicaid qualification? There's pros and cons on it, but it's a topic with the attorney. But in the same sense, you can put in a D4C or other kind of protective custodial
what about
trust.
like something like a reverse mortgage?
That's another idea.
That might help somebody.
Or just a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. There's different
Because sometimes they may
ways.
get overwhelmed because they have $10,000 in bills, which is not the end of the world. But to them,
But see, normally it's not the senior I'm talking to.
the kids.
It's their support group.
Right.
Okay. And a lot of people I work with have no family and no support group.
Right.
So then I need to get the professionals in a team to help them. It's not me. I don't know financial advisor and I don't know accounting and I don't know the legal side. I hear about it. I get the questions. So I know what the questions are that they should be talking over with their professional, but I'm not the answer.
So that's why you need a team.
Right.
You know, it's like I say, I'm no expert on Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. I'm an expert on caregivers.
Right.
I can't address that other stuff, but I know people that can.
Right. But it's not always about selling the house. They may find that a better solution is to lease the house out. And with my other company, we do lease options and things, and we can
explain
leave it
to me
in
a little
place.
more about that.
Well, let's say somebody wants to keep the house.
Right.
There's way through the D4C or other kind of custodial trust where they can lease it, and the money for the income goes back into the trust, and it could be depreciated and all the rest of the stuff. And then at the end of the time that they pass or something, they don't necessarily always have to recover payments to Medicaid or not. Those are discussions again with
the attorney.
But in those cases, that's what my other company, All Tampa Bay Home Solutions, does is we'll do the lease option. And at the time you want to convert it to a purchase, we'll buy it. So we can manage those kind of things too.
And then you have a team of people that you can work with if they need to downsize, if they need to do all that other stuff, because it gets so overwhelming.
Yeah, I worked with one woman who not only had her stuff, but then her mom had died, so she had all hers. And she was now able to walk, and she had like 30 pair of jeans, and then she had all her mom's. And I'm like, if you were wearing jeans, you can wear, most you're going to wear in a week is how many? And she'd say like 4. Okay, pick 4. The rest, just ignore them. We're going to get rid of them, whether we donate them or sell them or whatever, because they've got estate planning people. A lot of times they'll say, oh, I have this picture my husband bought on vacation. It was $3,500. I said,
but nobody wants it.
Nobody wants it.
Right.
There's very little.
And when you start getting rid of some of that stuff, you feel better. What I say is somebody comes over my house, you like the picture on the wall, take it. Take it. And then I get to see them enjoy it if they do want it.
Right. I had told my mother-in-law, actually, she has all of these Hummels.
Oh, my God.
And she got the Hummels from her husband whenever he went overseas for whatever. I said, nobody is going to want all of these things. But pick one up, and if it reminds you of one of the grandkids, put a little sticker underneath it with their name on it. They're going to want that only because it's the emotional power of that. So you've got monetary value and you've got emotional value.
Because I have to tell you, every time a man who's in my support group, his wife dies, 2 weeks later I get the call, Linda, do you like Hummels? All the time. It's true. And you said
but I like jewelry.
Yeah.
So, any of that gold and silver, I'm sure I can find a place for it.
Yeah.
So if somebody's looking at downsizing, the first thing I do is I say, where is the emotional value?
Right.
Maybe you've got that ugly old sculpture that they made when they were in second grade.
But it means
you
something
made it for mom. I want it back. Okay. It means nothing to anybody else. But before the neighbors come in and are helpful and everybody else comes in, pull out the emotional value things, have a list, then figure out what really has any monetary value. And there are people that are appraisers, but quite honestly, 99% of the time, there's not a lot of value.
Right.
And then you could take what could be used, like the dishes and all that, and have an estate sale.
Yeah.
But you've got, when I have somebody that's going to move to a facility, the first thing we do is, what is it going to go to the facility?
Right.
And the rest, walk away.
Yeah.
Okay. After you've gone through the emotional and the monetary value thing, walk away. You can't have them in there because they're going to, but I need this and I need that. And they'll have another whole room full of stuff at their new place.
Yeah. Well, my mother was in assisted living, and when she passed away, I didn't get rid of her apartment for like 2 months. I just couldn't. I couldn't. I did a little bit each day, and we went through the stuff, but that's what I needed to do. And it worked out okay.
See, I love estate sales. Every weekend we go out estate sales, but I buy it for the enjoyment. And if I have to get rid of it tomorrow, it's no big deal.
Right.
And that's how you got to feel about things. But
it's just stuff.
Yeah. Get one thing that reminds you of that person.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah.
You don't need their robe and their, because some
They're
people like
empty
this.
aftershave. And,
Yeah. You got it.
So
It's a lot of therapy, I guess, with that. It's a big change for people because it's that house that I built with my husband, and he sat in the garage they put every nail in. And
yeah.
So.
All right, honey. So what's the last thing you want our listeners to hear from you today, and where can they find you?
Just call me if they've got a situation. And the reason is it's like somebody's in the hospital. They said, Mom can't go home. And I give them things like, you don't have to be released. You don't have to sign off on a release until you're sure you have a good place for them to go.
Right.
And
that they're going to be safe.
Yeah. And you don't, in the emergency room, you don't walk out in the hallway and say, can you help me? Hit that nurse's button, because that's all they respond to. That's what they're measured on. I mean, those little practical things is what I normally give people.
It's really important.
I'm kind of like an adjunct to you. I'm not nearly as experienced as you are, but.
And your phone number is?
727-270-4920, direct cell phone.
And your website?
I got two of them. Forget my website.
Just call her.
Yeah, call me.
And I'll put all that information in the show. If you didn't write it down, all the information will be in the show, and you can find her there.
It's easier because I've got all Tampa Bay Home Solutions and Archer Realty.
All right. Thank you so much for being with me today. I really
absolutely, my pleasure.
Now it's time to hear from our wonderful partners, so don't go away. We'll be right back on Connecting Caregivers Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Choosing the right chiropractor is an important choice to make. Located in Seminole, the Alexander Spine Center team is trained on the latest chiropractic treatments and technologies. At Alexander Spine Center, you'll find chiropractic and physical therapy care that is safe, effective, and a natural approach to pain and other health-related issues. Chiropractic unlocks your body's potential and natural healing process to ensure your life is a healthy life. We treat clients from the womb to the tomb. Call 727-397-3000 for a free consultation today, or visit our website at www.alexanderspinecenter.com.
They take good care of me twice a week, so check them out.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
We believe the power of the human body and mind can do amazing things, and that tapping into that power, not just tricking it with a temporary disguise, is possible. Superpatch technology uses a special pattern and vibrotactile technology to help you go from feeling blah to hurrah. Now, once the Superpatch is in contact with your skin, it triggers a neutral response in the brainstem that helps you tackle your daily problems head on. Whether you're struggling with pain, balance, stress, or focus, we have a solution that might be right for you. With Superpatch's 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Hi, this is Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers. I started using the Liberty Patch over 3 years ago. I used to be a tripper, but since wearing a Liberty Patch, I haven't tripped once. The Liberty Patch is proven to reduce the risk of falling by up to 8 times. And as we all know, if you prevent the fall, you prevent the call. Don't wait until it's too late. Preventative solutions are the answer.
Superpatch does not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure illness. Superpatch is FDA registered. To receive 25% off your first order, go to sticktoit.info. That's sticktoit.info and learn more.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And we're back. So we have a couple of exciting things coming up. First of all, in 2 weeks, we'll be picking a winner for the Caregiver contest. Go to lindaburhans.com and nominate a caregiver. It takes you 3 minutes. Every single person that is nominated receives a gift from me. And then once a quarter, we just pick one name out of the hat because you're all winners to us. And once a quarter, we pick a winner, and you get a bunch of gift cards and some respite care and a facial and a haircut and all sorts of good stuff. But I'm telling you, just being nominated makes a caregiver feel so good. And you have no excuse. I don't get it. It only takes a couple of minutes. So go to lindaburhans.com and do that. That makes me happy. Denying Gravity has some new shows coming up. So today in the Ritchie Suncoast Theater in Newport Richie, next Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Catherine Hickman Theater in Gulfport, and Saturday, October 5th at 2 p.m. at the Pinellas Park Performing Arts Center. This show, Denying Gravity, is about falling. And as far as I'm concerned, the fall can be the end. That is one of the most important things, and one of the things that I worry personally in my life about is a fall, because I see what happens all the time. What's great about this show, it's comical, it's informational, and it starts a conversation. Because I've seen this show before, and you'll see two ladies sitting next to each other, and they'll be talking about getting rid of those throw rugs or something, and all of a sudden you'll see that both of them smiling and looking at each other like maybe we need to do about something, or maybe we need to take these flip-flops off. So just go. It's entertaining, and it starts the conversations that are really hard to have. Also, my Kiwanis group of Seminole, we have the Field of Honor coming up. The Field of Honor is from November 1st to November 30th in Seminole. We will have 600 flags this year. So you can nominate a veteran. It's a 3x5 flag on a 8-foot pole for $35. So the American flag is on there, and then there's a streamer that says David Macaulay, U.S. Navy, 1943 to 1945. And when you come by there and you see 600 flags blowing, I can't tell you how wonderful it is. And what a wonderful. In fact, they said they're going to put it on as a tourist attraction each year in Seminole. Wow. So we started 10 years ago with 22 flags. And I am one of the youngest people in my Kiwanis group. So this is a lot of work. We drill holes in the ground. They have to be exactly 5 feet apart. We have to have ambient lighting at night. Thank you. Duke Energy has really helped us with that. And Duke Energy has helped us in with some of the manpower hours.
Is this for people living or having passed?
Either.
Okay.
Either or. So yeah, it's absolutely fabulous. So please, I think this week we were up to 400 flags registered. But please, it's just a wonderful gift for somebody. The Connecting Caregivers Conference, woohoo! I just sent everything to print last night to the printer and everything to my website. So my webmaster. So October 1st will be registration. The event is the 11th, 12th, and 13th. 12th, 13th, and 14th. And know that I don't expect anybody to sit there for 3 days. I can barely do it, and I'm running it. Anyone who registers within 30 days, you receive all the videos of the conference to watch whenever you want. So please think about doing that. I'll be talking about it every week. And then one other thing you might want to look into is the Savvy Caregiver class through Area Agency on Aging. It's a 6-week course, once a week for 2 hours at the Sunshine Center in St. Pete. Every caregiver I know that have taken this class said, "Oh, Linda, we've learned so much." So if you're interested, you can contact Area Agency on Aging, or you can call Terry Toner at 727-570-9696, extension 160, and all that information will be in the show too. Thanks so much for being here today. I leave for Maine tomorrow morning for 6 days with my sister and lobster, but I will be back next Friday. Remember, God loves you all the time, and have a delicious day.